Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show.
Welcome everyone once again to another episode on Clubhouse. This is our weekly show. We put together a wide variety of topics every single week at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST for all you East Coasters. And this week's topic is focused on what lessons have you learned from your favorite book? You know, after all, we are a book publishing company, and our goal is always to share stories and amplify them of our authors, of all of the entrepreneurs, experts, and executives that come on our shows. And so what we ultimately want to do is be able to share their stories, right? And what better way than, since we have several authors that are on the panel, want to learn what other books have inspired them. You know, now that they've written books, it's always great to get more insight, because if people want to learn, sometimes books are the best way to learn, right? Beyond experience and places you travel. So the way that this works is I'm going to pass the baton here shortly to Adam. Adam's going to moderate the panel, and he's going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll ask them a few questions and get the dialogue going. So with that, I'll kick it off. Adam, take the lead. I'll pass it off to you now.
All right, thank you, Shrugged, and excited for everybody in attendance, and excited to bring the panelists up. So Sharif and Qamar, they'll both do their individual intros in a moment, but excited to have them on. Between the podcasters, the other day I was on Sharif's show, and Qamar and I host a show, and he has another show. A lot of content, a lot of podcasters going on, and I'm excited to hear what lessons they've learned from their favorite books. So maybe, Qamar, if you just want to get us started by introducing yourself.
Hey guys, it's Qamar Zaman. I'm the CEO of VR Digital Marketing Press Distribution Company. And I'm also an author of tourist, and I've written a book. So that's a bit about me.
All right, Sharif, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Sharif Almamun. I'm CEO of iLinks, basically modernized IT, mostly in the government, healthcare, and transportation industries. I also recently was able to publish my first book working with this team, and also started a podcast that focuses mostly on giving back. Small businesses that truly doesn't have a platform or way to really promote themselves. I want to give those small businesses and individual with talents my platform to be able to promote their business and skills.
Awesome, and excited to have everybody on here. So let's just jump in with today's question. So what lessons have you learned from your favorite book? I guess I'll start this one. One of my favorite books, and I wish I had it when I was younger, is the E-Myth. So that was one of the things I like reading, entrepreneurial books, things like that. And I learned quite a bit. And I think the biggest lesson or the biggest takeaway from me on that one was basically the difference between, the entrepreneur and the operator, and just talking about how businesses get bigger and how the operation side of it, and how to really create and grow a business, and to learn some of the fundamentals behind doing that. I feel like in my first couple businesses and things that I did, I really get that concept. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss it, or maybe I'm just the only one, but I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs kind of miss that part of it and make some mistakes, some certain mistakes over and over and over again that could be avoided, even if you had the knowledge, or even if you read a book like that. Because I know before I read it, I'm like, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh man, I did that. I made that mistake. Oh, I was probably gonna make that one. I'm glad I got that one out of the way by reading this book. Has anybody else here read that one? I'm just curious. The E-Myth.
I have not, but I'm definitely gonna look it up.
Man, it's like one of those books that you always hear about it, and then you always are like, no, I'll look it up or I'll do it, and then you don't. Not you, I did it for years. People would tell me about this book and I wouldn't do it, and I'd be like, then I finally read it one day and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have did it. Sorry, Qamar, I think you were gonna say something.
I did read the E-Myth, like anything else. It's a until, like, sometimes you have to read it multiple times to really understand what is the book about. Napoleon Hill, it's like I read it 17 times and I fully understood why the guy's saying, what is it? Think and Grow Rich. So I used to, when I first time read it, like, how can you think and grow rich? But it took me multiple iterations reading it, till you got to that maturity to fully understand.
All right, so who's next? I want to hear some other books in here. Let's get some other ones.
I think, Qamar, that was a really good point and segue to the book that I wanted to talk about. It's not really, I read a lot of those motivational business-related book, of course, but I also read a lot of spiritual book. And, I've always been very much focused on future. I think a lot of people who comes from foreign background, we are sort of programmed that way anyway, because we're always trying to achieve something more than what we have. And I think I've always been sort of programmed that way. And so years ago, my nephew actually gave me a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And the first time I read this book, it just went over my head. Later on down the road, I guess what you call it maturity or experience or circumstances were different, I had a chance to reread it. And it really stayed with me after the second time I read, because he focuses on you sort of thinking about what you have right now. A lot of people talk about sort of gratitude. It's not really just talking about gratitude. It's really focusing on this moment right now. Right now at this moment, four of us are having this conversation. There are so many things going on in the world. We could have been in those areas. We could have been in Afghanistan. We could have been in, there's flood going on or some war going on. But luckily, we're here at this point having this conversation. We have food on our table. We have, life is good. Things are going in the right directions. We continuously focus on just tomorrow, but your tomorrow may never come. Or your tomorrow may just be fine, but you may be standing here worrying about certain things or event or project, how it's going to go tomorrow or next year or the year after. But if you look back in our life, right? I'm 46 years old. When I look back in life, there's so many events, situations that happen where I thought, man, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. Or I thought that was the end of the world, but I'm still here. So I think that book really focuses on you appreciating and focusing on current moment. Because if you look around yourself where you are, most likely you have some things to be appreciated for or to be happy about, to be grateful for. But if you start to focus, you have a plan for future, but you don't truly always constantly think about that. You take one moment at a time and you appreciate the moment and show gratitude and thank for everything that you have. By doing that, you build a habit of enjoying every moment, because tomorrow may never come. And also by doing that, you're also giving gratitude. And when you are giving gratitude, the energy that you are creating around you, that energy, that good energy, good karma will bring more good towards you. So that book really changed my perspective and point of view about how I was sort of leading life. I'm still focused in future. I'm still thinking about tomorrow. I'm still growing for tomorrow and going after things for tomorrow. But when I have a moment, especially when I wake up in the morning, first thing I try to do, I try to meditate or take a 5 minutes, sit outside, grab my coffee and a book and read 5-6 pages and just appreciate everything that I have. So that book really, I really think that book made a huge difference in my life.
Awesome. I want to tell you a book, I think, since we're talking about the books you have learned. I am going to tell you this book that probably none of you would have even heard about. The book is called How to Monopolize the Marketplace by Rich Marshall. What you have heard about marketing is totally wrong. How many people have actually read or heard about it?
I have not, but what a title. Did you say the title is How to Monopolize the Marketplace? That's a great title.
how to monopolize the marketplace and get rid of the competition, and everything that you've ever heard about marketing is wrong. So let me tell you a little story about this book. So this was 2014. I had just survived a hurricane, Hurricane Ivan, category 5. I almost died in the hurricane. I used to live in the Cayman Islands. I lost everything that I had, and then I flew back to Dallas, and I stopped in Miami. And a friend of mine, this Derek, he picked me up from the airport, and as he was dropping me to the terminal in Fort Lauderdale Airport, he gave me 2 CDs of somebody had sent him these 2 CDs. And he said, take this. And I had those 2 CDs sitting in the car for about a year. I didn't even look at it. I was looking for a job. I had no marketing background. I was in technology. And then one Christmas evening, I think it was Thanksgiving, I had no money. I was still looking for a job. I was separated, almost divorced. I was sitting and I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch these or listen to them. And I read the 2 CDs. They were actually before they used to sell a book, they would go and sell you these CDs. So I listened to that. And because of those 2 CDs and the book and the subsequent books from that author, I have a 9-figure income. Now, I'm not going to go into the depth of this. That's the guy that taught me marketing. I have not gone into an MBA in marketing, but I've been very successful in marketing, and I've learned this. And I give 100%, 1,000% credit to the book author. However, the sad part of it, that guy, nobody knows about, because his head got so high that he believed in so many things. He thought he had the shit, and he could not take advantage of it. Here I am. I built the business based on the entire book. So if you ever get an opportunity, look for that book on eBay. I think it's available because a lot of people bought it. It was like a $300 book. In those days when the books were like not that cheap, like $50. But that book is really the best thing you can ever get. I learned the entire marketing. I built the business. So the synthesis of the story is, so every time I read a book as a history lesson, because all books are history. If you read one chapter, you don't have to read the whole book. If you read one chapter of a book, that gives you what the guy had gone through in his life. You multiply that by 50 books. You're an expert in other people's lives, so you never make that mistake. That's the download of me.
And Qamar, this one was by Richard Shaw, right?
I think that's Richard Harshaw.
Harshaw. Oh yeah. It's on Amazon. I just looked it up. It's on Amazon. It has that, and even the audio CD. What? I haven't even seen that in so long. That's amazing. And they also he has a lot of YouTube content too, though. The application marketing advice from Rich Harshaw. That's awesome. Yeah, no, this is a great one. I've never heard of him. I didn't know what his content. That's a great lead.
That's amazing. No, thanks for sharing that, Qamar. I wrote that down too. Mine's is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think I read that. That was like one of the first non-required books that I read, I think, in like high school when I first started off. And it kind of opened up my eyes in like how to network and meet people and kind of what he did to get himself out there. Second book is also Never Eat Alone. By Keith Ferrazzi. And there's a lot that I learned in the books early on in just like connecting, but it's not just meeting people, but then it's actually building a relationship with them. And that was like the foundation for a lot of what I learned personally in building communities and meeting folks and even building up media brands, built like leading up to Mission Matters, to even prior to Mission Matters, building up a few others along the way. But that was always the foundation, well, among a few others, but I think those were the 2 cornerstones for me that opened up my eyes into building relationships and rapport with folks and scaling that up.
That's awesome. What's everybody reading right now? So that's helpful. Well, I'm just curious, what's everybody reading right now? So those are the all-time favorites. What's everybody on the list? Other than our books, by the way, I know you're reading Volume 5 of Business Leaders Edition, Qamar, but other than that,
I'm reading 2 books. I always read 2 because sometimes I get bored with one. So I'm reading Unlock It by Dan Lok. Unlock It by Dan Lok. And the The second book I'm reading at the same time, it's called The Monk Who Sold His Red Ferrari.
That is a phenomenal book, man. That's by, what's his name? What's the author's name?
So,
He also wrote, he also wrote the 5M Club, right?
Yeah.
That's a great book.
Yeah. So that's for mindset, for business. Dan Locke's Unlock It. Dan is my mentor. A bit cocky, but good book to read.
I'm reading a little bit different book. I think I was on a streak of reading similar kind of books. So this time I picked a little bit different two books. Qamar, I'm kind of like you too. I always read like two books at a time, so I get a little break. And it's usually two different types. One usually is more on the business or Dale Carnegie, that kind of book. The other one is more sort of my personal growth, so spiritual growth, that kind of stuff. This time I'm actually reading the book by Gandhi. It's on Gandhi's life, basically. Second book that I'm reading, it's actually Elon Musk's life story. So both are sort of biography of two very different leaders. So it's very interesting. Their approach is very different. They're very different kind of thought leaders, but I'm finding both fascinating.
Amazing. I'm currently reading Relentless by Tim Grover. He was the personal trainer to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and also Dwayne Wade, probably three of the most prolific basketball players. And then also reading Titan, which is John D. Rockefeller's biography.
Man, I like to say that I was reading something, but I'm not. So that was kind of a selfish question because I'm not reading a book right now, and I don't have any. I didn't have any great ones. I think I'm going to start with the one that you mentioned today, Qamar, because I've been listening to. I listen to a lot of audiobooks now, but I still do see the value in reading them, and I do like reading them, but I haven't been reading one as of this moment. I think that's going to be my next one. But I guess I will say I am listening to one, and that's more for just for revisiting, I should say. So Atlas Shrugged, I probably listened to that I don't know how many times, but I like that one. I just it's a familiar voice on the audio book, and re-listening to that. But I think that marketing one that Qamar said, I think that's going to be my next one.
You will love that. That will transform you even more because you love marketing, you understand it. But the thing with monopolize the marketplace is, the book was written about 25 years ago, I still can apply it because it's from the stories of, the old school marketing, the infomercial style marketing, and people have forgot that. But the buying behavior is still the same with so much noise, etc. I think people are not doing a good job of creating brand content. So I think you will learn a lot. So I'll leave it to that. I still that's kind of like my Bible for marketing, and Napoleon Hill is my Bible for mindset. Every time I have a bad day, I go and read Napoleon Hill because it'll give me something back again. So, those are the two go-tos all the time.
No, that's awesome. So let's see. What is everybody writing on? All right, so we covered, favorite books. We've covered favorite or our current book. What's everybody writing? Doesn't have to be a book, but what kind of stories are out there? What are you guys writing nowadays or creating?
How to write content to rank on Google. That's by yours faithfully, Qamar Zaman. And there's an episode coming tomorrow. If you guys missed the last one, make sure you listen because there are going to be some good value bombs. Because if you don't do that, then I don't know what you should be doing. So.
Like that setup, Qamar? That was a good one. I teed that up for you to knock it out of the park. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sharif.
I was going to say that I wish I was writing something fantastic. I've been just writing proposals to win new business. That's
Hold on. I'm not mad at that. That's what I want to hear. You're writing proposals. Shrugged, you writing some proposals? What are you writing? I hope.
Yeah, basically the same thing.
Sharif, I give you ideas on proposals. I know we're not talking about proposals, but proposals are a kind of a book on its own because the first proposal you did, even though you thought it was the best, now if you look at it, you might think, what a crap that I wrote, and I still was able to sell it. So it's kind of our own history, and we get better at it. Yeah.
It is. No, Unfortunately, my first proposal was not that great. It was I come from a private sector background, and I decided to build a business in public sector. And so, it's a very new ball game. So on my very first proposal, it was just crap. We didn't win. But, it's amazing looking back now. When I started this, when I compare the quality of services and quality of writing and quality of content, all of that stuff, where it was a few years ago and where it is now, even though we are a small business, because we do IT strategy and IT modernization type of work, we end up competing with, Deloitte, PwC, and those kind of, not PwC, Deloitte and IBM and all those kind of big fours. A lot of times I find my name as the finalist, and you see Deloitte, IBM, and my little company. So even though we don't win all the time, but the fact that within short few years it has come to that point, it just fascinates me. It's kind of like Adam and I were talking about his first book, his Ugly Duckling, where it was at that time and how far he has come. It's fascinating, man. When you actually stay true to yourself and keep trying, when you are persistent, things really changes.
Hey, so Sharif, you said that you write a lot of proposals and you bid with big companies. What exactly, so when you are competing, with the small Sharif Inc. and Deloitte Inc., how do you then differentiate your size versus theirs? I know sizes matters in this country, especially, or any country. But so how do you differentiate and win?
So it's really, it's really your approach and methodology. I mean, Deloitte was not Deloitte on day one, right? Obviously, they have a lot of people, a lot of focus, a lot of stuff. And, one thing I think over the years, and it took some years of polishing, is that we have been able to build some track record on one or two specific things. I don't go try to win everything. When I compete for something, it's very specific work. There's a solid record, and typically there are some solid methodologies. One of the things that differentiates us, and obviously they have it too, but the quality of people, resources that I usually bring, and the history that I have working with these resources, I don't think an IBM or Deloitte is able to show that. They will always show in the beginning, this person, that person who's going to come, they'll promise moon and sky. But then we all know that when it comes to the resources they actually give to finish the project, it's very different. In our case, the quality of people we bring and the fact that we usually similar type of resources or same people going from project to project to project and doing the work again and again, we built a pretty good track record on those specific areas. So it becomes easier to win. However, the cases we lose are typically where there are companies who look at our size and say, well, you're much smaller than the bigger companies. So in that case, you can't really change their mind, right? I mean, if somebody wants to go with the bigger farm, regardless of what, they will go. But so far I've seen, because of this track record, because of the type of resources, and because of the sort of commitment that we put, it makes a difference. Now, I could say that pricing-wise makes a difference too, but we really rarely ever try to. Yes, our rate is not like Deloitte. Deloitte may charge for an architect $400 an hour. We may charge for $250, but our rates are not that cheap. But comparatively, it makes a difference. But the type of work that we go after, most cases, they don't really care about if they want a big farm, they will go for a big farm regardless of the price. But I think that those few things that I mentioned has made a difference for us to win. And also partnerships. Relationship goes a long way. Everything that you do, I have been able to maintain relationship with people that I've worked. If you look at my LinkedIn, I have about 10,000 people because I've stayed in touch with people I've worked with. So I always bring in the same people. And then also the partnership I've built with different companies. Give you an example, right now we're working with City of Philadelphia. We're modernizing their entire financial supply chain grants system and budgeting system. The person who took our company as their partner, I have known this guy for 10 years. He has a small business too. We always bring each other into our work because of the trust that we have, because of the quality of work that we, and the fact that we can work seamlessly together. This is our 6th project together, and we have completed, another probably dozen projects together. So it's that familiarity, that relationship, that commitment, and then also the quality of resources and methodologies that we try to use. That usually helps us win, kind of against all the odds, basically.
I will leave you with a golden nugget, especially when you said that if you struggle with companies that are only looking for big and you cannot change their mind, the biggest problem that they have is they consider you small. So what you do is in the very first instance, you handle that objection right away. It's like, Mr. John, I know we are going to be the smallest company that is bidding, but here's what makes us nimble and better. So before they consider that in their mind, you already handled all the negative out of them. And even after that, if they don't take you, at least you made them think, man, I should have gone with that guy because he could have done my project faster than the Deloitte's. So do that next time. And I think hopefully you will not lose any more clients.
That's a very, very good point. You're sort of like addressing the elephant in the room. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Well, we want to, is there any other last, but I want to just kind of close out maybe the topic. So lessons learned from books, favorite books, any type of last words on books, recommendations for people. I want to give everybody some space to be able to say their final words.
My final word is always read, because if you don't read, you are always going to be like a fossil. So keep learning, because if you stop learning, you're going to become a fossil. So that's my final word. Keep reading.
Back in the days, people used to walk hundreds of miles to find a guru. And they used to be around the guru and, take care of the guru for years before the guru would share their knowledge, right? And these days, we have, access to these books and material so easily. That just says that how easy life has become. So I don't see any excuse for not reading, because I think Qamar was probably talking about this before, that when you are reading a book, you are actually getting the knowledge of that person. So if you read 50 books in a year, you have learned from 50 different people and their life lesson. You'd rather learn from others' mistakes than you making that mistakes. And I think every book that you read, it decreases your chance of making those mistakes that somebody has made before. I think I'll live with that thought.
Yeah, mine's is just, I feel like the way you grow as a person, it comes down to just a few things. But in short, it's the places you get to travel to, the people you get to meet, and then the books you get to read. And so I think that in a nutshell kind of summarizes my final points here.
Awesome. If you want to close this out, Shrugged, we'll go from there. Let's do a closeout. And
Absolutely.
Thank you everyone for attending. I appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Absolutely. So every single week we host another show. Our next conversation is going to be September 9th, next Thursday, once again at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST. We have the whole lineup squared away, and definitely follow us on the Mission Matters Club in Clubhouse. It's public and all of our events are listed there. So if you haven't already, follow us and follow all the speakers that are here: Qamar Zaman, Sharif Almamun, and Adam as well. So for all the listeners out there, thank you for chiming in, and looking forward to having you next week. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.